Alright, in this video I'm going to show some tips for Mario Kart 64 on the Nintendo Switch, and I'm going to actually start showing it through time trials, and then at that point I will show Mushroom Cup on Grand Prix. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into the app. The app you're going to want to have is Nintendo 64, Nintendo Switch Online, which you do need to pay for the subscription for, which is called the expansion pack, in order to play online and even play Mario Kart 64 on the Switch. Generally, if you want to play online, you want to go and press the D-pad left button to go to play online. And you play up to 3 people, and you would just connect to the internet to do so. You can play while you wait, or you can actually join a friend through this menu. But I'm going to go ahead and press B again. I'm going to go ahead and actually open Mario Kart 64. You can see that this is a game I've played quite a bit, and it was released back in 1997. It's an old game, but it's a classic. I'm going to go ahead and press A to press start, and I'm actually going to run through some really basic things first before we go into the more advanced tips. The buttons you're going to want to know: A button's your main button. It's going to be your accelerate button. I'm going to go one player, and A is your select button to get through the menu. I'm just going to go ahead and go to time trials so I can show some things. First off, I want to show what it looks like to play as a heavyweight character. So we'll go to Luigi Raceway. I'm just going to go and press A. And the thing is, for the turbo boost at the beginning, you're going to want to have it pressed just before the blue light. And you'll notice that Bowser is, about going like the same pace as Luigi at the beginning, which is not the fastest character you can use to start. So how it is Mario, Luigi, DK, Wario, and Bowser are slower characters in the game. Bowser does have the ability, what's called triple tap A, which I'll kind of explain a little more later, while the other 4 characters do not have it. Wario has a better jump than the others. Mario and Luigi technically have a faster top speed than DK and Wario and Bowser, but for the most part, they're the slower characters in the game. The faster characters you have are Peach, Toad, and Yoshi. They have a faster acceleration. They have a faster top speed once you get to it. The one weakness for them is they're kind of lighter, so they can get in a head-on collision. They're probably not going to win against Bowser, but they are the faster characters, and in Mario Kart 64 Switch Online, we will be using, for the most part, Peach, Toad, and Yoshi. And Bowser will kind of switch out so that everyone actually has a chance to play the lightweight characters otherwise. So every cup we will switch so that we have one person being Bowser each cup, and then the other 3 plays the lightweights. But anyway, I'm going to go to Yoshi. I'm going to show you some actual tips. So you basically would press A just before the blue button to get the boost. So I'm just holding on to A right now. I'm doing nothing else. And notice how much faster I am to Luigi. Now, if you're just trying to use control stick left, right like this, you notice Luigi's kind of really getting ahead of me. So it's one of those things where if you're just using control stick, you're not going to get very quick. Now, what you can do is the R button. You can hop. So you can hop by pressing it. I'm still holding on to A, generally. And notice how if you go through sand, if you go through grass, you go even slower. Press the wrong button. There was a C up button. I'm trying to remember what the button is on Switch, which shows the speedometer. But the ZL button is the mushroom button. Okay, what did I... Oh, right, that's right. So I'm going to start over again. I'm going to show you with the speedometer how that works. So you can change it by using the control stick, right control stick on the right Joy-Con, and go right. But as you can see, when you're turning, you're not really going to go very fast. You're kind of keeping speed, but you're not going very fast. What you do is press R. So when you're pressing R and you're moving the control stick to the right, when you're going to the left, and vice versa, you can kind of hold it, and you're not losing as much speed. But the big thing you want to really get is what's called a mini turbo. So what you do is basically, you see how it goes from white to yellow? That's kind of something where you're building towards what's called a mini turbo boost. You want to get it all the way to the orange before you can do that. So I'm just holding right, but basically what you do is you go left, right, until you get to the orange, and then you pop, and then you see a little bit of a boost. So I'm going to try to do this again to show. Whoa, it went all the way up to 80. So that's the advantage of using the mini turbo boost. The faster you are able to toggle left and right, the better. So you see, you kind of keep the boost. You actually keep the boost for a few seconds, which is kind of a useful ability. And the other thing you want to do is straighten out after each turn. So I'm going to just illustrate you doing my mini turbos normally. So you're kind of holding it for a bit. You let the boost actually go through before you do your next one. And then you kind of straighten out so you're actually basically headed towards the next turn before you actually, you want to straighten out so you're going right into the next turn right away. I'm going to go back through and I'm going to show you the mushroom boost. So again, nice boost. You're going to straighten out straight into the next turn. You're waiting a second or two before you actually go into the next boost, so you're not going right into it. Okay, so where do you use your mushrooms, right? You get 3 boosts in time trials, and even with the Star and Versus or Grand Prix, you're like, when do you use it? How you want to use it is kind of like this, okay? So you're using it to cut across the grass, right? And the thing is, if you're in the middle of a drift, it actually gives you a little more speed. It advances you a little further than what you would otherwise get. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to show basically roughly how you would do. I mean, I only have 2 shrooms right now, but how you would basically do it on this particular course. So basically, this is a nice little area where you can actually cut a lot of ground. You can even hold it like this and then go right into the next one. And if you're really fast with mini turbos, what you can actually even do is do ones on straightaways. So you'd have to do it fairly quickly and not fall off the course. But the other thing is, if you time it very well with the orange boost, you can get the Yoshi sound or whichever character you have, and you can actually get that without the orange ease that you even see there. But you can even do mini turbo boost on a straightaway like that. So I'm going to now go ahead and show it on. Go ahead and actually show you some other things specific to these courses, and then I'll jump into actual Grand Prix. So there's shortcuts available on this track. We do ban it for Mario Kart 64 Switch Online play, but I want to tell you what they were at least. There's one where you can actually hop over the wall here without a mushroom. It's a pretty complicated shortcut, but it's not allowed. The other one that is not allowed because of shortcuts is you can actually boost over this wall. I'm probably going to miss it in an attempt. But you are actually able to jump it over and skip that portion of the track, and that is not allowed in shortcut play. The other thing you're not allowed to do under the shortcut rules is to use a shell over this area. So you can actually shell yourself over the wall using a blue shell or a red shell to skip half or even a full lap. You're not really allowed to do that here. You notice how on the map, on that mini map, the two parts of track are very close to each other, so it is actually possible to do that. So I'm going to now show Moo Moo Farm. Pretty straightforward track, right? Except, even though it's one of the shortest tracks, it has some nuance. First of all are these moles. So if you try to drive over the moles, that's going to probably happen. They are RNG, random number generator. They're completely random. So that can be a challenge when you're trying to drive through it. This is generally the path you want to take. That is a fairly safe path, but you kind of go through the moles that way. You may wonder, what's a good speed item spot? So there are a few spots. I mean, generally, if you have a star, you're going to want to probably get the mole patches at the end. But otherwise, your shrooms are probably going to be well placed here in this area. So I'm going to go ahead and show Koopa Troopa Beach now as we go through Mushroom Cup tracks and show you what is allowed, not allowed. Anything in Moo Moo Farm is allowed. There are no shortcuts on that track. So Koopa Troopa Beach, there's this first bend. You can either go left or right. Left is actually generally a little faster, but you'll sometimes, if you see me playing, I will go right just because the items are there and items are useful. Try to show it with that way. Okay, the other thing, Koopa Troopa Beach, you'll see is this kind of weird area where you can go left or you can go right. You are allowed to go right for non-shortcut, and it is a little faster to go this way than, say, going through the beach. So going back this way, you can kind of see the normal pathway is going this way, right? So you're going this way, you're following the beach, but it's not a straight line, so you're going to be going a little slower. And the final option you have, you just go all the way back using the sandbar, which is not considered a shortcut, is this way. So you can kind of mini turbo into it and then jump into the tunnel. We do not consider that a shortcut. It is just the fastest way through the track. In fact, Nintendo really made it possible for you to even do that to begin with, so it's not really an issue for you to use it. Both routes are allowed. The other thing with this is, what if you can't really get the boost and you just want to use a mushroom? As long as you actually aim it properly, which I did not do it on that, the mushroom will give you enough of a boost to get through. The big thing is, you know, lining it up and making sure. And you can also jump, like I did there, and that's kind of a helpful thing for you to do to get a little bit of distance if you're a little bit short. Now, what are other speed item areas that may be useful? Now, this is not a bad spot for a mushroom right here. There are some other good mushrooms or star spots. One of those spots is actually right here in the back. You can actually shroom across this little beach area as well. So I'm going to go ahead and show Calamari Desert as well for optimal lines. And then we'll go and visit some Grand Prix tracks later too. Calamari Desert is an interesting track and the final track of Mushroom Cup. So you can kind of see, just looking at the mini-map, there's that wider path you go around, and then there's actual train tracks. Okay? So you cross the train track twice on this track. And the train is going to be a little smaller for versus. One thing you can actually do, for shortcut only, and this is not allowed, is you can actually take a star this way. You can activate a star at once Lakitu gets a reverse, come back out, and then it advances you a full lap once you get back over. The other thing you can actually do for shortcuts, which again, not allowed for normal non-sharpened play, which we usually do, is you can use a shell, generally a red shell, and blast yourself over here to advance a lap. Now, we're not going to be doing that here. We're going to be driving normally, and hopefully avoiding the train, which I ran into over here, and seeing what optimal lines we can run. So, for versus, what you can do is use a mushroom to kind of cut across. I cut across a little too early here. The other thing you can do, and this is completely permissible, is you can actually go here. You can kind of see it's a big cut across the sand here, and that's perfectly allowed. The other thing you're able to do without violating any of the rules is you can actually use a speed item over here. Usually you're going to probably want 2 items, but you can kind of cut across over here as well. The other thing worth pointing out, because some of you may be Mario Kart 8 Deluxe players, is lap 2, suddenly you start driving on the train track like this. It's like, that's just part of the Mario Kart Tour nature of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. You're just driving, and one thing to note, when you're kind of driving, is, okay, you're going to go past the finish line, right? But notice, it does not trigger the lap counter. You cannot do this. This is not Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Although you can, one thing you could do, I guess, if you really wanted to, is drive on the train track. But you can see it is just not as fast. You're going like 50. Maybe you can get up to close to 60. So you may want to do that in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, but maybe not here. You may want to stay on the track. But here, again, see that big cut over there? Even without a mushroom, it's often a good idea to just take the cut in this area. So I'm going to go ahead and go to Grand Prix and show some Grand Prix specific things. Now that I've shown some optimal lines to run. So again, we're going to go with Yoshi. Toad and Peach are fine. Toad is a little lighter and can lose head-to-head collisions. One thing you cannot do is try to do this. Oh, let me actually do it again. I did not get the right boost on that. There is one trick you can do for shortcut play that you are not allowed to do for normal non-shortcut or no skips in Grand Prix. So you can actually try to boost over other drivers like that, and then and jump over the wall. You are not allowed to do that. So what is the goal in Grand Prix? 150. It is in 150cc, which means it runs faster than in normal 100cc time trials. But again, you're trying to get your boosts. You might want to put a banana where the fake items are, so that you're kind of tricking your opponents. And then of course you want to drive in front of your AI opponents or whoever, and just run into them with a banana like that. There is no option in this game for you to look backwards. This isn't Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. You can't do that. But if you're playing versus, you can kind of see what's going on your opponent's screens, and that can be helpful. You can fire 3 shells backwards, or you can hold on to them. It's often good to hold on, but again, it can be useful to fire it backwards if you're in a good spot. That fake item on top is kind of an interesting one because it's an automatic blue shell if you're able to jump to it. Get it. Avoid fake items, don't hit them. But with some of the better players, they'll place it in really good spots. The other thing, the thing about in versus is there are bombs that are just roaming the course. They're in kind of interesting spots. So if you're kind of in first place or whatnot, you're probably going to run into a situation where you don't really have a lot of great items. And the idea will be more playing defensively. So I'm going to slow down a little bit Moo Moo Farm. Initially, I'm just going to let the other racers go ahead to show some of the other items and how I would use them. Okay. I'm in 8th. Let's stay in 8th for now to kind of try to show some different kinds of items. Okay, so mushrooms, again, what are you going to do? You're going to try to shroom slide like that and try to get some good angles. Again, the moles are kind of crazy. I'm going to try to slow down a little bit again. Okay, so you have a star. What are your options? So I'm going to try to get a little closer to the enemies and then kind of show kind of a nice path here on Moo Moo Farm. So, Moo Moo Farm, because of the moles, you can just run straight through here, which is a very advantageous way to do it. What else can you do? So the other thing you can do with the stars, you can literally ram into opponents, which I barely missed, and they'll send them flying. The other thing with stars, of course, is you can just run into anything, really, including bananas. Something showcased with Koopa Troopa Beach moving forward is there are 2 routes, as I mentioned earlier. You can cut across the sandbar, totally allowed, or you can use the tunnel. You can do the ramp into the tunnel. We call it either the ramp or the tunnel. I think so there's some terminology here. But as you can kind of see, the items are kind of off to the right, so sometimes it's actually better to go right, even though it is slightly slower. So you kind of generally would want to cut to the left here. And the other thing you can actually do, I'm probably not going to be able to pull it off here, is you can try to hop, 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 and then actually hop into the tunnel. And the other thing with that ramp is you can actually just put a banana in front of it so that someone ends up tripping over it. The other thing with the ramp, in terms of our rules, is we don't really have a lot of guidance for that in terms of lightning bolts, but what we do with generally with any big jump is we do not, like for example for Royal Stadium or Royal Raceway, we can't bolt shock people into not being able to make the jump. So kind of a cut across on the left of those trees is usually good. And again, keep doing those mini turbos, and then letting yourself get a little bit of a drift, or a little bit of a glide. But again, you can also go this way if you're not comfortable doing the ramp, because the ramp can be tricky for newer players, and you can just do it this way. And again, shroom slides like that can be useful. So Calamari Desert, I'm gonna kind of roll back a little bit and actually show the Calamari Desert shortcut. I'm gonna just stay back in terms of a lower placement so I can get one of the items to try to show you what that looks like. Hopefully I can land it. Calamari Desert is the final track of Mushroom Cup. You can even do the shroom slide off of the starting boost. So I press the B button to brake. That's always an option. Let me see if I can actually hit this. Not sure if I can. So one thing with the shell skip you can do. So I'm in first, but not really because of... So the shell kind of just stays there. So you're actually able to jump over if you land that correctly. Which I'm not currently. Where'd the shell go? I think it disappeared. I didn't really aim it all that well, so I'm just going to show the rest of the track. But you can also do that. You can also use the star skip there. Maybe you can try it another track. Again, not allowed for non-shortcut, just for illustration purposes. This is a nice area to cut through, especially when you have super mushrooms, which you can use all pretty quickly like this. Generally, it's good to wait slightly so that you actually have a little chance to, like 2 laps behind. I think I'm a lap behind now. So I'll probably do a reset and actually show you how it plays on non-shortcut. But of course I have the star now. Well, I'll show it before this, on this last lap, how the star shortcut works. Generally, you want to straighten out before in mini turbo so that you're not flying all over the place. So you'll notice that I tend to try to straighten out first before I do it. But again, with the mini turbos, you're basically counter steering, so you're drifting, you're moving your control stick to left, and then you're moving it to the right when you're actually holding onto the R button. So I'm already at the reverse. Okay, so let's activate the star. I actually went a little further, but so normally that's going to work, but because it's lap 3, they didn't let me do it. So I'll illustrate on a full one once I do a reset of this. Just didn't quite land the red shell skip, which is not necessarily an easy one. In Grand Prix, you can do retries, but we're not going to be doing that, obviously, in any versus matches. So, I mentioned the brake. Braking can be useful sometimes if you're about to get hit by a shell or something else. So let me see if I can actually properly illustrate the shortcut. Let's see if I can get an actual star. I'm not getting any luck with the stars. Because it's kind of an iconic shortcut, I'm really hoping I can show this. Some RNG, huh? You can actually go through the train gap like that. But it is a very challenging maneuver. Alright, I guess I can't really show it, but at least I can show you how I play this otherwise. Want to avoid the bananas. Probably could have waited to put the bananas down later. This is not a bad spot if you're playing against good players because they might run into it, but generally it can work pretty well if you just put it where item boxes where they can't really see it coming. But that's a little illustration of Mushroom Cup and some tips and tricks. On that, there is a new shortcut called the Desert Tenko, which allows you to skip a lap on Calamari Desert, but if you're able to actually do it in a versus match, kudos to you, because it's a very difficult thing to do. It generally requires a lot of resets on time trials. So I'll probably also do videos of the later cups, but at least wanted to show you some good routes, some good strategies, general basic strategies for the first 4 tracks of the game. And happy karting.